I'm fixed, bro. I can't even have any more kids. I want another kid. Ultimately, if we did, we would get a surrogate. And even that process is like to drop 140 grand on having a kid. Damn, I could drop 140 on business. That's not a depreciating asset.
Yo, but could you add like cool attributes to it?
Dude, right?
Like fast.
I want to make sure that
tall.
they could slam dunk.
Good looking. Yeah. I don't know. I've never done it,
yeah.
But I don't know if you could add
dude, yeah.
Here's speed,
bro.
6 out of 10. Strength,
Like it's fucking
like a custom player on NBA 2K23 or something.
I don't know, dude. That might be worth it, man. That might actually be like more of it's like a retirement move right there.
And then you make him become like a kicker for the NFL.
Yeah, dude.
Welcome to Loudr, the podcast that amplifies your voice. I'm Sean P., your host, and here we believe in giving everyone a platform to get louder. Whether it's your professional journey or personal stories, we encourage our guests to speak up on topics they couldn't voice before. Join us as we make waves, elevate conversations, and empower you to be heard. Let's get louder together.
All right, so today I've got Tyson on, Tyson DeLaCruz, and he is another entrepreneur here in Vegas. Actually, one of the first entrepreneurs that I'd come in contact with, and every single conversation that we've ever had has been super enlightening, very genuine, very real. And so on this journey that I've brought everybody on with my podcast, it's been different stories, and to bring Tyson on and kind of share a little bit about his background, where he comes from, and more of a positive mindset and positive experiences. Although, this podcast is probably going to have some valleys into it, but his outlook and his access to different unconventional yet conventional medicines is really interesting. So welcome, Tyson. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, brother. It took a lot of resources and time to get the clinic rocking. It took 16 months to get the licensing. I was originally told it was only going to take 4 months. So I was like, I could float 4 months on a 27. It was like 2,500 square foot building or a suite. I could float that for 4 months with insurance and all that stuff. And then it ended up being freaking 16 months. And
why?
Just because the licensing, we were using we use psychedelics as a form
for sure
in collaboration with psychotherapy. So, and like a lot of limitations regarding, I'm not a medical practitioner. Like I have no medical background, and that just kind of slowed the process up like heavy, man. And
so do you think the process here in Nevada is different than in other states? Because I've found, just like on the real estate side with what I deal with, the licensing shit is it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say here, I know in Salt Lake they're more lenient, and I called a bunch of different other clinics just to kind of get resources and knowledge. But yeah, that kind of goes back to what you were saying about depleting cash. And then it's interesting because, we're not in a freaking crazy bull market like we were, 18 months ago. So the return on cash is slow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Bro, I'm suffocating, dude.
And it feels like we got to do like a lot more work to get a quarter of what it was before. And, not to say I'm not skilled or anything like that, but man, like it's been a gnarly ride, dude.
One of the benefits of being skilled is not having to fucking work more or put out more effort. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like when we do, it's it's a lot, dude. And here we are now, April. By the way, fuck April Fools. Like, I just want to say that for the record, dude. I'm so dialed in on my everyday life.
Yeah.
This is how ridiculous April Fools is for me, is that my wife, so I'm fixed, bro. I can't even have any more kids. And my wife is 45. So she could for sure have kids, right? But the risk level now, like we've talked about it frequently, I want another kid. But going through the process, ultimately, if we did, we would get a surrogate, right? and even that process is like, bro, with what we're talking about, like to drop 140 grand on having a kid, I'm like, damn, I could drop 140 on business, and like that's not a depreciating asset.
Yo, but
You know,
just
but-
just could you add like cool attributes to it?
Dude, right?
Like fast.
I want to make sure that
tall.
they could slam dunk.
Good looking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never done it. You know, like
Yeah.
But I don't know if you could add like like
Dude, yeah.
here's
I don't know,
speed.
bro.
You know, 6 out of 10. Strength. You know,
Like it's fucking,
like a custom player on NBA 2K23 or something.
I don't know, dude. That might be worth it, man. That might actually
'Cause then
be
that's a
like
good
more of
return
it's
on
like
investment.
a retirement move right there.
And then you make him become like a kicker for the NFL.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Or something like
Yeah, yeah. Dark hair,
is
light eyes. Yeah, but I only want a girl.
is
so
it can you reverse?
you can. So the process of reversing, either they can go into my nutsack and pull it out now without reversing it totally, or they can reverse it. But even with reversing it, I still have to wait months before we can even have sex. And it's not even guaranteed at that point. And with me having twins, my wife has triplets. We would end up having quintuplets or some shit like that. And I'm telling you, having multiples is like one of the most strenuous fucking processes ever on the like holding 2 kids that are crying, and like
I can
you're like,
only imagine.
I want to put one down, but like they're not old enough yet. So like if you put one down and you're holding one, that one might die because you don't know where it's gonna go.
Right,
it's
right,
like,
right.
dude, it's so much, bro. So like my wife and I, like our experience of having kids, dude, our experience is not an enjoyable one.
Yeah.
Like I fucking couldn't imagine not having my 2 boys, right? Now that they're 9, they could put their own fucking shoes on and like think for themselves and like, hey bro, you want cereal? Go get it. It's way cooler than before when, like I said, you put them down, you're like, you don't know what's gonna happen.
Dude, I immediately thought of freaking Full House?
Yeah.
When they're like, you know, like the roller coaster in the water, and then like with you and like, you know, your 2 or 3, another 6, you know,
Bro.
it's like,
And now like I'm 41, so like my wife and I enjoy getting out. We enjoy doing stuff, right?
For sure.
So April Fools, and I'm just going about my day, dude. And my wife posts a picture of an ultrasound in a baby basket and was like, I'm gonna be the oldest mom at graduation. And I was like, what the fuck? Totally got me, dude.
Oh,
so my wife's
no.
a hairdresser, so like when she's doing her thing, like she can't pick up the phone, right? I fucking blew her up. She kept sending me the voicemail, which I know like she's like if she has dye and shit all over her hands, she can't pick up. Finally, she picked up. She's like, "It's April Fool's, Sean," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, I know.
oh man,
I know."
that's foul.
But then even at that point, I was just like, fuck April Fool's. Like all the stuff just coming on social media, every single one of them, I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah, forgot. Ha ha ha.
I like disconnected all day
Dude,
because I was just like, dude,
I'm so
these-
glad it only happens one time a
Yeah.
year. I would be, if it happened more times, then, I mean, that'd be really bad for me. I just wouldn't like, it was terrible. So anyways.
Bro,
fuck
you
April Fools.
were actually you were actually talking to me earlier about I think it was like last week or something like that. You were saying that you had like a pretty shitty week. Shit was kind of rocky and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I never got the opportunity to kind of talk to you a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's just kind of in line with what we're talking about. It's just, it's a lot of weight, dude, you know, that we carry as men, you know? And so like everything that we just talked about, like there's so much out and then there's bills that are coming in. And, you know, some of these bills, you know, one in particular, it's like, it's a big bill and it needs to be paid. And it's like my image is also attached to that as well. So it's
Yeah.
like I can't not pay shit, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, at the beginning of the year, I made a lot of promises and things are really slow. And so with what we do also, it's like you kind of you learn that like as an entrepreneur, if you take your foot off the gas, to get the machine going back again is like, it's a lot of fucking effort.
Bro, it's like an old school Volkswagen. You know, like, bro, if the starter's gone, you gotta fucking
dude. Yes. Yeah. So like, it's just better to keep it running.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so sometimes as an entrepreneur, like being real, you're making promises and cashing checks or writing checks that you're like, I don't know if I should be writing this one right now.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
But I have made $150,000 in 1 month before. I have made $70,000 in a month. I have made, so I mean, really, I could pull this off.
Super doable.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, super doable.
So, but then it doesn't happen and it's like, everything comes down. So, and then into the relationship aspect, like whenever you have, look, dude, females are only really good when things are really good. I'm going to conclude on that. Like, that's what it is, dude. When times get tough, bro, like, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Like, you got to have a strong woman by your side. Like, well, yeah, of course you do.
Yeah.
And they're usually super strong when shit's real good.
For
but
sure.
when it starts to get rocky, like, they're the first ones to fucking deconstruct, dude.
Yeah. And, I think, bro, when you were talking about like the man stuff, one thing is like, there's a song that freaking ripped me up. It's by Dax and Darius Rucker. It's called like To Be a Man. And it goes through all the nuances of what it's like to be a man, working, partnership, parenting, all these things and all these additional stresses that kind of come with being a man. It was interesting when you were talking about that, but then like to go back to relationship wise, man, like you're right. It's when things are good, everything's copacetic. But then also what I've noticed too, kind of reflection and looking back over this past year too, I think my inability or not being in practice of like communicating better or learning how to communicate better and saying like, yo, these are the things that we need to do, like ASAP, can also, at least for me, was a contributing factor, right?
That's a great quality that you have. I know that I have it as well, as being able to self-reflect. It's a great quality. But here's the thing to that is that in order for you to instill your trust into somebody with that, in a scenario like that, there needs to be some consistency, right? And so in order for you to communicate properly 100%, the communication back or the reactions need to be equal 100%, right? So when you're getting, and specifically like to stay in line with what we're talking about with females, if I'm going to share hard news with you and I get back like, it's like, well, I'm not going to fucking tell you next time.
For sure.
Like
ain't nothing going.
You're
like,
kind of like throwing me
off.
off now. Like, do you want me to communicate? Because like if it's either 100% communication or not,
right?
So what is it? Right. So I appreciate the fact that we could take accountability for ourselves, but at the same time, it's like it's so inconsistent in knowing what to predict on like the response you're going to get back.
And it depends. Like I think I think everybody here can like agree that there is a technique. There's timing.
By the way,
involved.
Luis is here, so he's in on this as well.
There's technique involved, like the way that things can be delivered or are required to be delivered to get a particular response that you're looking for. Timing, like that includes time of the month, time of anything really, aside from like you almost have to like wine them up, dine them up, and then deliver.
For sure, dude.
And then deliver it in a way kind of like what we were talking about a little earlier about the boxes, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, can you please get this box? Like it has to be this kind of, doesn't have to be. You could do whatever the fuck you want, right? But like in order to get a really positive response, I think all those things have to be in play, and then maybe delivered again. in another scenario. You know,
Bro, if you say, will you please go get that box? It's like there's no urgency behind it, right? So you may need the box right now, right? So will you please go get that box? There's no urgency behind that. So then it doesn't get done. But then if you just say, hey, I need that box. Would you go get it? It's like we were talking about. Why are you talking to me like that?
Right,
Well,
right.
I had to create some sort of urgency, you know? And so that goes in line with, so Tyson and I, we were talking about working with your spouse. It's tough. I don't know if it can be done clearly. I mean, some people do it. But in those instances, I would be curious to figure out how many of those the female is more dominant than the male.
Good. Dude, that's really good. You know, ultimately, kind of, I would be interested in knowing that too. Because as much as we say we don't want to play bullshit games, like it's a game.
Yeah.
You know, the home life, it's a particular situation that you got to navigate through. You know, ultimately one person may think that they have the end decision or the final reserve.
Yeah.
And then there's other scenarios where that's not the situation. And working with the spouse is difficult. I think it goes back to that proper communication, you know, and definitive boundaries, right? Like, I think that's what ultimately it goes back to, is like defining what the boundaries are. Like, hey, when we're in this setting, this is this avatar, or
Yeah.
these are these people.
Yeah.
You know, this is who we be in these scenarios. But when we're at home, it's different.
Yeah.
I commend anybody who works with their spouse, especially like in a business, you know, in a business setting, and they do things hand in hand. I think it's very admirable, because I can take offense to shit. She can take offense to stuff, depending on the delivery or time, just like what we were just talking about a little bit ago. And then ultimately shit doesn't work well,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because I can talk to my employees a particular way, and then that's how I'm going to deliver it to everybody across the board in a work setting,
Yeah.
or in a business setting. Like, hey, get this done.
Okay.
Cool. You know, if you say that to your spouse and your partner, like in business, hey, get this done, it's a fucking shit show.
Yeah, it's a blurred line.
You know?
Yeah. So Tyson opened up what type of clinic? So will you explain a little bit of what that is?
So it's an alternative holistic treatment facility, where we treat anxiety, depression, PTSD through clinical psychedelic psychotherapy. So what all that means is we treat anxiety, depression, PTSD, and then we use psychedelics in a medical setting to help navigate through.
So the psychedelics that you get are purchased legally, of course, obviously, right? So then are your psychedelics better than the psychedelics that someone would get on the street?
As a official pusher, I would say yes. No, but yeah, and I would say in regards to safety, quality, yes, 100%. Dude.
Yeah.
So currently we use the main thing that we use right now is ketamine, and ketamine has psychoactive properties. That's because right now, you know, MDMA and some other psilocybin and things like that are coming down the pipe. We are licensed for those things, but you know, in regards of clinical settings, there's limitations there. So, but in regards of the quality, the safetiness, and you know what you're getting, I would say yes. You know,
Especially now.
yeah, because especially now, dude, like with the fentanyl shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, like you could buy ketamine on the street, but you don't know what it's laced with.
Yeah.
You know, this is manufactured in the U.S., manufactured by a particular grade pharmacy.
It's so crazy to me, bro, that's like been a terrible drug for years, you know, like MDMA, ketamine, mushrooms, you know, up until recently, weed, like so bad. But in reality, it's like none of it really is so bad, you know? Obviously, anything is bad if you abuse it.
For sure.
And
Sugar's
you're taking,
bad.
yeah, right.
Like fucking,
For sure. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
But now we're entering into a world where, you know, now weed, I could go buy a joint right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember growing up smoking weed from off of like a Pepsi can, right? Poking holes in it. And we'd be in the corner, like scared if anybody saw us, we would be in trouble, right?
No.
Now that's like the what do I want to say? Like that's
like status quo. Like
yeah, bro. It's like if you don't go on the strip and smell weed, you're not in Vegas. Like that's
sure.
like the state smell.
Yeah.
Is weed. Like for real, dude.
That should be
Everywhere
the new
you go,
license plate.
right?
Nevada,
state smell.
the state smell, weed.
But now it's like you could literally we could go smoke a joint like down and walk down the street right now, and even if a cop did see us, like nobody is saying anything about it, right?
Yeah.
So I just find it extremely interesting, and I love the fact that you guys have opened this clinic because I haven't read a whole lot about it, but what I have read, I mean, it sounds like there's so much benefit to experiencing that. And when you really start to look into the things that the government has banned completely and said are bad, most likely it's because they're good. So that's awesome, dude. Like, how do you grow a clientele with that? Because, you know, I'm sure to the older group, right? How old are you?
30. I turned 38 this year.
Okay.
Yeah, 38 years young. Yeah.
So I'm 41. So we're same era, right?
Yeah.
So anything older than us, you try to talk to them about ketamine and MDMA and stuff like that, they're like, whoa, you know? Our age and lower, you start talking about it, they're like, do you have any?
Yeah, for
You
sure,
know?
for sure.
So it would be an easier convince to talk someone in our age or generation into like, hey, this is a really beneficial practice for you. Someone older, maybe not. So how do you go about that? How do you preach?
Man, you know, honestly, it's been fairly, the transition's been easier. And I'll define that because like with all the studies and all these research articles and things coming out regarding psychedelics and its effects in regards to mental health, it's kind of like a quick, you know, onboard, particularly people who have used SSRIs, antidepressants, for long periods of time and haven't seen significant results. Lithium and all this other stuff. So with psychedelics, especially in a controlled setting, and the way that it's done is it's like a therapy session on psychoactive meds.
You're like legit releasing
Yeah.
certain things in your brain.
And that, I think that's the coolest process about it, is because when you talk to a therapist, you kind of have resistance to stuff that comes up. And with psychedelics or any kind of induced state like that, you're free. And it's almost like I reference it like Wonder Woman's lasso, you know, like her truth lasso. Like she whips, and then you just tell the truth, and there's no weight of the trauma or the shit that normally would clog up you communicating with it. So in regards to that, and then also overall human performance, we're actually working with a university to do an independent research study regarding psychedelics and human performance. and the way that they perform.
Like daily performance?
Yeah, particularly like physical activity, like
Athletic performance?
athletic performance. Yeah,
That's interesting because there are a lot of professional athletes that smoke weed before they play.
yeah,
You know, if I smoke weed before I work out, I have a great workout.
yeah, yeah. So, and a lot of people want something different. You know, like a lot of people, they're looking for, because they see, especially over the past couple freaking years, with, you know, people saying masks work, masks don't work, this, that, you know, the other thing. They're craving something different, and they know that there's a potential alternative, you know, and there are an abundance of alternatives aside from psychedelics, you know, that can help with depression and anxiety beyond psychedelics. You know, like if somebody's scared to use psychedelics, or, you know, has some preconceived notion about it, there's a bunch of other stuff that somebody can do, like, you know, going to the herb store and grabbing blue lotus. Blue lotus tea is a natural, you know, flower, helps with anti-inflammation. It's an anti-inflammatory and antidepressant. Breath work.
I was just going to say breath work.
Yeah.
Damn it. You got me.
Breath work is like heat.
That was like my moment.
You know, like, and it's free.
Yeah.
You know, you could sit there and do 10 minutes of, you know, a good reference is Wim Hof. You know, YouTube Wim Hof, 10-minute breath work. Fantastic to you know, stabilize your central nervous system. Taking your feet off. That'd be great if you could take your feet off. Take your shoes. Yeah. Take your shoes off and go in the grass, you know, and just lay in like real grass at the park. Like, that's another great antidepressant, you know?
Yeah.
And then just consistently doing those habits are going to change. You know, I'm kind of like dovetailing a little bit, but like the biggest thing is when people come for a particular fix, they think that this is a magic pill and it's going to change everything. It does change everything for the moment, you know, but the biggest realizations after psychedelics or after therapy or whatever, the realizations that you have during the treatment have to be implemented. You know, this situation with work. Okay, great. So what are you going to do? Yeah. You know, you got to quit. You got to change your job. You got to, you know, but a lot of people aren't willing.
Implementation, is like.
Yeah, that's where the real work comes in. You know, I sat with, I remember my first ayahuasca ceremony, 2015. I sat with this beautiful tribe from California, and they're actually originally from Peru, the Shipibo tribe. And they talked about the work begins when ceremony's done, because like all of the information that you get from like the downloads that you get from the ceremony, those are the things that you actually have to implement,
bro. You know, that's super interesting, bro. It really is, and I think that's where people fall into such a trap, is the implementation of really anything, you know?
For sure.
So what do you guys have with the clinic? Like, what do you have in place for that? Like, so does somebody sit with someone and write down like what this person's saying, those thoughts, and then kind of try and put together like a roadmap for them to implement?
Yeah. So it's like a 3-step kind of process. Like there's a kind of like a preliminary interview assessment to see even if this is something that they're like quote unquote qualified to do. And then there's this process of like pre-treatment where we go through questions, you know, we talk about particular goals. You know, it's not like they can call up and have treatment today. You know, they have to get assessed by a medical practitioner. Then we have to go through like pre-treatment. And then during treatment, an individual guides them through whatever's kind of coming up. And yeah, you know, we take copious notes on what happens during treatment just in case another practitioner picks up, but then they get all their information. And then right before treatment too, they have a worksheet that they fill out And then afterwards, they kind of revisit that worksheet to see if some of those things came up.
Nice.
And then currently, like an aftercare, I'd like to increase the aftercare piece, but it requires a little bit more robustness.
So can you subscribe anything after that, or whatever they take needs to be taken within the clinic? Like, what are the rules on that?
Yeah, everything that they take has to be taken within the clinic. Yeah.
And then, so how long is this process? Because if you're, I've heard, no, but like if someone takes ketamine, like how long does it take for them to go through that process, wear off, where it could be safe for them to go home, drive, or get back to?
Yeah, so we do like a smaller dose. Generally, I tell them to block out about 90 minutes, and they can't drive, right?
They cannot?
Yeah, so generally, like we'll call an Uber, or they Uber to the clinic. Yeah.
Damn. That's cool, man.
They can go back to work, but like I honestly, like I would treat it, I would tell that everybody like, hey, this is just like a massage, right? You generally, after you get a massage, you don't want to go back to your fucking accounting job, crunching numbers. Like you want to chill for the rest of the day.
Yeah, like you're still soaking in. Yeah.
Like
the
process. You have a spa day, you don't want to go fuck around and do some judicial law bullshit.
Oh shit.
So
damn. I've never met anybody that does that, bro. That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I feel like as a matter of fact, no lie, my wife maybe 3 days ago sent me this it's an MDMA like retreat.
Mm-hmm.
She was just like, this would be cool. And my response was, yes.
Bro, I had the opportunity to like go to Peru in 2000. I've been to Peru about, I think 3 times to Peru. But the last time I went was gone for about a month. And then I spent 2 weeks in the jungle, in the Amazon jungle with the Shipibo tribe. And like, we did like, yeah, it was crazy, man. Like, we sat with ayahuasca and did all
That's
that stuff.
something else I want to experience.
It was,
sure.
It was crazy, man. Because there's no cell service and the jungle is loud. The jungle's loud.
Were there mosquitoes?
Oh yeah.
Because I just, me and mosquitoes, like that's why I moved out of California, the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, dude. But
yeah, you look sweet. I'm just joking. They're like, oh man, I want this blood, man.
I hate mosquitoes.
Yeah. They're gnarly. They're super big out there, man.
Well, that's good. At least you could see them and hear them before they fucking land on your
ear.
But
like the cool shit is man, like because they've been in the jungle for so long, so there's these like handmade or hand rolled kind of tobacco-ish cigarettes, and they're called mopachos. And what you do is, when you're walking in the jungle, you light the mopacho and you blow it all over your body, and it's a natural mosquito repellent. It's fucking mind-blowing, And I think the first day when I got into the jungle, I had like crazy diarrhea, dude. Like luckily I brought some Pedialyte with me.
Because you're detoxing, or?
Dude, I think it was maybe because it was something I ate like before we hopped on the jungle, like into the boat ride in the jungle or something. And then I told him, I was like, hey, I can't stop shitting, And I was like, I'd laugh, and I had to think,
you're like, where do I go?
So, and they took me out to the jungle and they grabbed like these fucking leaves and some bark and they made this tea. And bro, in like 15 minutes,
you're good.
I was good. It was just,
bro, see.
And I'm just like, dude, we got all this other bullshit here. And I'm just like, this is crazy.
Yeah, man. I'm not one. Our government is just so completely beyond. Like, we're so controlled. It's someone I love dearly and is super important to me. we accidentally fell on. It was actually to my wife's doing, fell on politics, right? And this person does not lean the same way that I do, which I actually don't lean any really fucking way. It's more to the point of like, I just want to be left alone, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that if a certain person gets back into office, that this person is getting us closer to a dictatorship. And it was at that moment where I was kind of like, what are we talking about? What?
Yeah.
So the one person that is completely unlike any politician that's been in office for like the last 60 years, right? And isn't connected, isn't related, has no affiliation to any of these other people that have been controlling the government for the last like 60 years. And all these people hate that person because he's going against the grain. So are we in a dictatorship now? Because I would argue that we are.
Mm.
If you look at a picture of, okay, so freaking numbnuts, the old guy, just had a fundraiser with the pedo.
Yeah.
And the dude who's fucking married to a tranny.
Yeah.
And they raise all this money together. And this guy is the vice president or was the vice president of the last president. And that president is like, I'm like, that's a fucking dictatorship, bro.
Yeah.
That is a dictatorship. So it's just, it's super mind boggling to me, the brainwashing that people still believe now, bro. And what's funny is like everybody had like, oh, I got the source. I'm getting my information fucking legit.
TMZ, bro.
Yeah. Like,
fucking.
Oh, so you're getting real information from where? Like,
Business
no, you're not.
Insider.
Yeah. Like, no, you're not. So I just feel like some of us have been snapped out of it, and just there's a lot of people that just are not.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point now where that really rattled me because this person is super important. I look up to this person. She's one of the most influential and important people in my life. And that fucking rattled me because I was just like, wow. Like there's just such a divide. And it's not a matter of divide in like really in anything other than whether you are still programmed or if you have had the ability to kind of snap out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was just wild to me. So like with everything that we're talking about, it's unconventional.
Yeah.
What you're unconventional, right?
Yeah.
What making a tea to stop shitting out of fucking off of Mother Earth is unconventional when it should not be.
For sure.
You know? So it's just wild to me. So anyhow, bro.
I think all that shit anyways is just, you know, my personal opinion on it all is just like it's all fugazi anyways, you know, like it's all puppeteer, puppet master kind of thing. You know, we could go in a whole other way, but like there's a whole nother system that's aside from, this is my personal opinion, aside from the one that we see, you know, in regards to
100%.
the two political parties, right? Like I think ultimately, like maybe
what is outer space? I don't know. And who lives in outer space?
Aliens.
Is it in space or is it just outside of what we know? Because I mean, within this podcast, like Luis heard me talk about this, like I don't even know if any of these motherfuckers are true. We see them on TV. We're told this, we're told that, but like clearly Donald Trump is real. I mean, if he wouldn't he wouldn't show up to like UFC 280 in a hologram. You know what I mean? Like
he's like, clearly Donald Trump is real.
I'm just saying because
just letting you know.
This guy's coming out into the wild and people are seeing this thing or this person. So maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but the facade and the outer shell of this thing is real. Yeah. Right? So, but everything else, like, how do we know? Right. How, and that's the thing, bro, that drives me crazy is that some of these people like really try and have an intellectual, like serious conversation about shit. Like there's no way for you to even know, dude.
Yeah.
Have you jumped into a rocket and flown around fucking outer space and the earth to figure out what it looks like and what's what and this and that? No, you have not.
Majority of people are just fucking, they believe what they're told, you know?
Yeah.
Like they believe what they've fucking been displayed, you know?
Bro,
Like,
it's crazy.
We've only seen outer space based on some visuals of some pictures that some other person took.
Yeah.
You know, like we've been to the moon one time.
And think about it. When you fly.
How many times have we been to the moon?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, and how come we haven't been back? And then real shit, how the fuck?
And we only see one side.
Did they, were they able to like take video with, this is a 120 gig phone. I think their processing speed at that time was like 500 kilobytes.
Yeah.
How the fuck, you know, did you create anyways?
And why can't, I mean, we have these like gnarly telescopes. Can we not see the flag that's been stamped?
Oh, that's a good.
It's there, right? According to video, according to what we, so let's see it.
That,
Wouldn't that be such a spectator or like such a spectacle? Like, hey, this is the telescope that's fixed to the moon that we only see one side. It doesn't move where the flag was planted. Here you go. Why not? We actually have, based on what we're told,
wow, I never
those telescopes. So like,
you just blew my mind.
The fucking moon is right there. We have a telescope that could see Pluto, bro, which who knows how fucking far that is, right?
Yeah.
What's rad is being a parent and when your kids talk to you about stuff like that and then acting like
I would imagine like I had this kid freaking ask me like how does Bluetooth, like I was like, oh, it connects via Bluetooth. And he goes, how's Bluetooth work? And I said, He's like, well, what's Bluetooth and how does it work? And I'm like,
shit, I don't even know, dude. It's like, yeah, either your bubble's blue or it's gray, bro. So that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. And people will actually argue with you for shit like, bro, I don't even know if fucking the Middle East is real. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been there, dude. You know?
That's a little far-fetched, but
it is. I am being extreme at this point. I really am.
It's like, I don't even know if the Middle East is real.
But that's my point, though, is like, we have all these fucking idiots walking about that are programmed, right? Sure. And the ones that are like, the government would never program us are like the ones that are trying to convince other people of the program.
For sure.
You're like, but how do you know this program exists? My source.
Nice.
My fucking source.
Yeah. Wikipedia, bro.
Yeah.
Wikipedia.
Oh, cool. Okay. Fucking interesting.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to manifest money a lot.
Dope.
So
what kind of things you've been doing?
Just thinking about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, real shit. No. Like it you know, like the things that we think about often persist, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, hey, how can we think about, you know, increasing our frequency into abundance? You know?
I'm just of the thought process that if I can think I can't, then I think I can.
For sure.
Right? And we are programmed for so long from being little into all these things that you can't do.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between the people that can and they can't? Is a fucking thought process. Mm-hmm. Really, that's it, dude.
Yeah.
That's fucking it. Well, I mean, and there's talent behind it, but how much stuff that a talented person does has a lot to do with their thought process, and that has opened up their mind and the doors for them to be able to step through things to execute.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So as I'm going through, I shared with you before we started on all this, is times have been super tough, dude. Mm-hmm. You know? Very frustrating. And it's so easy for us to be like, I'm such a fucking... Yeah, that's my mindset.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Like, especially if you're kind of going through, at least for me, like if I'm going through a valley, it's tough to kind of switch that mindset to focus more on abundance and more on gratitude, or attract more things, right? Because you feel like, at least I feel, stuck in particular ways. But, you know, it's important for me to think about it more, affirm it more, you know, cultivate it, because it has happened. You know, it was in a reality before, like physically, you know, and it's interesting because, like, actually in November, bro, I went through I had this crazy mental breakdown.
I remember. I saw that from afar. So,
and that was because I was over leveraged. I was both, like, in a lot of different areas of my life, and I was coming from a place of, like, depletion, you know, like negative. I would start the day off, like, in a negative, quote unquote, and I'm just trying to get on the baseline. And it just felt like, dude, I felt like Rocky in round 8 against Apollo, you know, or whatever the freak it was, just beat up, you know, Adrian, you know, like, I'm just like, yo, can I get a win? Can I get like can I get a point? Over? Yeah. And, yeah, it was difficult to maintain a positive mindset in those spaces, man, you know. And I have great support systems, and granted, like, there was the it crumbled, you know, like I had crazy suicide ideations and all this other stuff, but you know, I'm super blessed that, you know, I'm here and able to have conversations, for sure.
Yeah.
Because that was pretty fucking gnarly, man.
Well, I'm glad you got through it.
Yeah.
It's tough, dude.
Yeah.
It really is tough. The fact of the matter is it's probably going to happen again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's something I'm struggling with, is that before I came out to Vegas, I went through such a hard time with my kids, battling for that. Yeah. And then moving out to a new state where I knew no one, where an ex-friend of mine that I worked for fucked me over, ripped the rug from underneath my feet. So I had no money. So I was living, like, on my wife, working extra. So I just felt like a super douche, dude, like, to the max, right? And I dug myself out. I dug us out. And so once you do that, you're like, okay, like, I got us out. It's not going to happen again. When in reality, like, with the entrepreneurial spirit that we have, it's going to happen again, because we just kind of, like, I think of, like, motocross goggles or, like, NASCAR, like, where they just tear off the outer lens, right, to get to a clean one, right, as they're riding, you know? So we just tear that one off, and then it's like a whole new, like, whoa, what is this? And then that next level is, like, more expensive, more risky. But then if you win, it's way more beneficial.
Yeah.
The prize is a lot sweeter. So you're like, fuck yeah.
All in.
Yeah. So let's do this again. Yeah. You know? And so that's really what I'm struggling with right now, is because I have some really big things going on, and I should be really proud of myself. And I am. But, you know, you still have fucking bills. You still have people that rely on you. You still have, you know, some important things. You still have your name that is attached to you, that, you know, as an entrepreneur as well, you know, that's a big part of your brand and who you are, you know? So, that's tough, dude. So, you know, I almost feel like, or can we get to the point where we can just get, like, a monthly prescription to some of these, like, really good drugs that, you know, people who can be responsible can take. So
it's I hear it, man. You know, it can be really, really gnarly, man.
And I think that's an important lesson to for people to grab onto, you know. And if you can take something from all of what we're talking about, is that oftentimes people think, like, if I can just get to the opposite or the other side of this road, everything will be great, right? But once you do get to it, like, but we're programmed to go back to, like, I feel like this whole, the title of this conversation should just be called Programmed. But we're programmed to think like if we get to this obstacle or this achievement, we're good, right? When in reality, like if maybe we unprogram people to think like, hey, that's a great goal, get there. And here's how it feels to keep going. Here's how it feels to implement everything that you just learned to keep going. It's okay to fail. You're going to fail a lot. And failure is a part of the process. It's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have that growing up, So for me, like to do well and then fail, do well and then fail, it's like really has been a huge learning curve for me. So it's tough. It's easy to fall into those valleys as you said.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the entrepreneurial journey and just life in general too. Like, I don't think that there's a we feel that, if we get to this thing, we'll be good. If we get to the other side of this, we'll be good. But it's not so much, when we get to the other side of it, we'll be good. It's the person that we become on the way to getting to the other side of it. Because there's always going to be another side to everything.
Yeah.
There's always going to be another castle. There's always going to be another dragon, another moat that we got to cross.
There's not another side to the moon, though.
No, that's what I heard today. I learned that today. But it's like, it's and for a long time I was like, yeah, I get it. Cool. It's the person you become. But it really truly is like in some of like the darkest moments or some of the most difficult moments while you're navigating through it, it's the person that you like really truly become.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have gained those attributes. I'll speak for me. Like I wouldn't have gained those attributes if I wouldn't have had to navigate through really difficult times.
Yeah.
Like the container wouldn't be a good container for future success, and that's, it's hard to swallow, but it's real,
It's real. Yeah. Well said, man. Well said.
Yeah. When it's fucking dark, like, so I actually, I got kicked out of the house, right? I didn't know how to say that. I got kicked out of the house. Man. So I stayed at hotels with, actually surprisingly, I was like, all the Expedia travel that I did in the past, I had all these points racked up. So I got to stay in some really cool spots because of points on discounts. So like super kudos to Expedia. Yeah. But through that process, I'd packed a bunch of stuff up and I left, and since I've been back, I haven't really unpacked a lot of this stuff, like my clothes.
So you're back home now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been back since about December. I was gone for like 2 weeks or something. It was shortly after Thanksgiving until like two weeks after Thanksgiving. But I really haven't unpacked anything. And there's like a twofold for that. One is because I'm like, what all do I need? So like my wardrobe has significantly shrunk. Jeans shrunk, and I got rid of a bunch of stuff because I'm like, dude, I haven't even wore any of this shit. Like I remember packing it up and thinking like, dude, when was the last time I fucking wore this suit?
Yeah.
Like and then I'm really minimal now, like on the clothes too. So I like, before I could probably go like 3 weeks without washing anything and not wear the same thing, and now it's like I have to, because I limited the underwear, I limited the socks, and now it's allowed this sense of freedom. And then also I got rid of stuff that was in the garage.
Yeah.
Like when this whole thing happened, there was this like crazy shift of like, what's all this shit that's like holding me back?
Yeah.
Like, bro, like stuff like, and I'm very abundant, but I have all this stuff. So like, it's no longer serving me. So I can give it to somebody else, or I could sell it, you know, to make some money or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's all this stuff that we think, at least for me, I'll speak for me. There's all this stuff that I thought that would bring joy and happiness to me, but ultimately it doesn't, you know?
Which is a common topic and a common feeling for a lot of people, especially in the entrepreneur world, that are constantly chasing for the stuff. And they get the stuff. Stuff doesn't mean shit.
Stuff doesn't really mean shit, man.
No. And sometimes you're forced to get rid of that stuff, not by your choice. Yeah. And then once you do, you're kind of like, again, unprogramming yourself from where you were. And now, you know, it opens up this whole new realm of reality for you, you know, and you figure out what's really, really, really important.
Yeah.
And when you start to actually really think about what's really, 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 really important, if you think hard enough and long enough, you're going to find that there's one person left when you're thinking about that. And that's yourself, you know? And I love my wife. I have a good marriage. You know, we have our issues, but at the end of the day, like, can you really, really, really like go all in on somebody? Even my kids, dude, you know, I'm experiencing with my wife's kids. They're now 18 going on 19. And I'll be really light on this topic, but the sisters, the triplets, are feuding. And they're also feuding with another person in their family. And it's getting to a point now where they're adults and they're starting to really understand that not everybody's good to have in your life, regardless of if you came from them or not, if you're family or not, you know? And so when you start to realize all of that, like, you start to get down to yourself, you know? And it's a very humbling, but sometimes a very sad thought process, you know? It's not something that I like to actually really sit in, because I want to really believe and live my life and trust that the people that I do have around me have my back, you know? Yeah. I don't want to look over my shoulder, you know? And that's, as I get older, why my circle is super fucking small.
Right.
You know? So, I've really enjoyed this, dude.
Yeah, same.
This is dope. Yeah. This sounds a lot like our phone calls that we have. Like, I don't know, like, so Tyson and I met just through networking.
Yeah.
And every single phone call that we've ever had has just been super, like, it's just been cool, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of times it's, you know, we're talking about business. But it always kind of is a genuine, like, hey, I'll talk to you later. You know, good to hear that you're doing well, you know? So I'm glad to have you on. I'm glad that you're doing well now.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate your time. How can anyone find you if they want to, learn a little bit more about your journey? You've got a really good social media following.
Thanks, man.
And that's because you are a genuine person. There's a lot to be learned from you and your travels. So where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everything at Tyson DeLaCruz. So that's at TysonDeLaCruz.
Cool.
I'm sure Louise put it right there somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything at Tyson DeLaCruz. Yeah.
Cool. And are you on YouTube as well?
Yeah, I am.
Same thing? Same handle?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
So if you have questions, or if anyone has questions, comment in this podcast, add Tyson.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to you. We love to talk.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
This was fantastic, bro.
Cool.
I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything more you want to say?
No, man.
Cool.
Bro.
Cool. All right.
Keep 'em trucking, man. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, bro.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah,
I
it's been a
appreciate
pleasure.
you. Yeah,
all
same.
right. Later.
That wraps up another empowering episode of Loudr with Sean P. I want to express my gratitude for joining the conversation. Remember, your voice matters, and together we're creating a symphony of impactful stories. If you enjoyed today's episode, I want to hear from you. Please subscribe, share, leave a review, and let's continue making some noise. Until next time, stay empowered and stay loud.